need to get this off my chest because it's been eating at me for 3 weeks now, and I honestly don't know who else to tell. I'm a high school teacher, been doing it for about 8 years now. And what happened on the last day of school this year has me seriously considering changing careers. Hell, maybe even moving towns. I teach at Roosevelt High, which is this old brick building that was built in the 1950s. You know the type. Long hallways with those industrial tiles that echo when you walk, metal lockers that slam with that distinctive clang, and classroom doors with those little wire-reinforced windows. It's not a bad school, just old. The kind of place where you can feel the weight of all the decades of students who walked those halls before. So anyway, June 15th was our last day. You know how it is. Kids are barely paying attention, teachers are just trying to make it through. Everyone's thinking about summer break. I had my usual end-of-year routine, collect textbooks, clean out my desk, take down all the posters and decorations. Standard stuff. My classroom is on the second floor, room 237, and I've been in that same room for all 8 years I've worked there. I know every crack in the ceiling, every weird stain on the carpet, every quirk of that old building. So when something feels off, I notice. It started around 2 p.m. The final bell had rung maybe 20 minutes earlier, and most of the kids had already cleared out. I was alone in my room packing up books when I heard it. Footsteps in the hallway. But not regular footsteps. These were wrong somehow. Too heavy, too slow. Like someone was dragging their feet. Now, I figured it was probably just the janitor or another teacher, so I didn't think much of it at first. But the footsteps kept going. Up and down the hallway. Back and forth, for like 10 minutes straight. I stuck my head out to look, and the hallway was empty. Completely empty, but I could still hear the footsteps. They seemed to be coming from the other end of the hall, near room 251. Room 251 has been empty all year. They were supposed to hire a new English teacher, but budget cuts, you know? So it's just been sitting there, locked up, collecting dust. But as I'm standing there listening, the footsteps stop right in front of that door. And then I hear a key turning in the lock. I'm thinking, okay, maybe maintenance is finally doing something with that room. So I walk down to check it out. But when I get there, the door's still locked. I try the handle, definitely locked. But I swear I heard that key turning. That's when I noticed the smell. Have you ever smelled something rotting? Not like garbage rotting, but something organic, sweet and sick at the same time? That's what hit me standing outside room 251. It was faint, but it was definitely there. I should have left then. I really should have just grabbed my stuff and gotten out. But you know how it is when something doesn't make sense. You need to understand it. So I went to the main office to get the master key. The secretary, Mrs. Chen, was still there finishing up some paperwork. I asked her for the key to 251, said I thought I smelled something weird and wanted to check it out. She gave me this look. Not suspicious exactly, but concerned, maybe? That room's been locked all year, she said. Nobody's been in there since last June. I know, but I really think there might be something wrong. Dead mouse or something. She handed me the key, but she was definitely hesitant about it. Just be careful in there. That room has always given me the creeps. I asked her what she meant, but she just shook her head and went back to her paperwork. So I went back upstairs with the key. The smell was stronger now, definitely coming from under the door of 251. I unlocked it and pushed the door open. The room was wrong. I mean, it looked normal at first glance. Desks arranged in rows, whiteboard at the front, the usual classroom setup. But everything was covered in this thick layer of dust, way more than you'd expect from just 1 year. And the smell, Jesus, the smell was overwhelming once that door opened. But what really got me was the windows. They were completely covered in what looked like black paper or paint. The room was dim, lit only by the light from the hallway behind me. I flipped the light switch. Nothing. Tried it a few times. Definitely nothing. I pulled out my phone and turned on the flashlight. That's when I saw them. Words, scratched into every desk. Not carved, but scratched. Like someone had used their fingernails. They weren't in English. At least I don't think they were. They looked almost like letters, but wrong somehow, angular and twisted, and they were all the same word, over and over again. scratched into every single desk in that room. I backed toward the door, but it slammed shut behind me. I tried the handle, locked, from the inside. But there's no way to lock those classroom doors from the inside without a key. That's when I heard the breathing. Not my breathing, someone else's breathing, coming from the back of the room. Slow, raspy, like someone with a bad chest cold. But there was nobody there. The room was empty except for the desks and me. I banged on the door, shouted for help, but the building was basically empty by then. The breathing got louder, closer. I could feel it on the back of my neck, but every time I spun around, there was nothing there. My phone light started flickering. The battery was fine. I'd charged it that morning. But the light kept cutting in and out. And every time it went dark, I could swear I saw something moving between the desks. I'm not proud of what happened next. I completely panicked. Started throwing my shoulder against the door, screaming, just trying to get out. The breathing was getting louder, and that smell was getting worse. And I was absolutely certain that something was in that room with me. Finally, the door opened. I fell out into the hallway and just ran. Didn't stop running until I was outside in the parking lot. I sat in my car for like 20 minutes, trying to calm down. Told myself it was just end-of-year stress. Maybe some kind of panic attack. Old buildings make weird noises, you know? Maybe there really was a dead animal in there, and the smell was making me hallucinate or something. But I couldn't just leave it. I had to know what those words on the desk said. So I went home and looked them up. It took me hours of searching, but I finally found something. They weren't in any language I recognized, but they looked similar to some symbols I found on this weird occult website. According to the site, they were supposed to be some kind of binding sigil, something used to trap or contain a spirit. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I called the school. I told them about the smell in 251, said there might be a dead animal or something. The principal said he'd have maintenance check it out. 3 days later, he called me back. We checked room 251, he said. There's nothing wrong with it. Cleaned it out, actually. It's all ready for next year. What about the desks? The scratches in the desks? Long pause. What scratches? The desks are fine. I drove back to the school that afternoon. Told the security guard I'd left something in my classroom. He let me in. Room 251 was open, clean. The windows weren't covered anymore. Bright afternoon sunlight was streaming through them. The desks were arranged neatly, and there wasn't a scratch on any of them. But that smell was still there. Faint, but definitely there. And when I walked past room 251 to get to my classroom, I heard footsteps behind me. Slow, heavy footsteps. I didn't turn around. I grabbed the few things I'd left in my room and got out of there as fast as I could. School starts again in 6 weeks. I've already submitted my resignation letter. I don't know what I experienced in that room. Maybe it was stress. Maybe it was some kind of breakdown. Maybe there's a perfectly logical explanation for all of it. But I keep thinking about what Mrs. Chen said, that the room had always given her the creeps. I did some research on the school's history. Roosevelt High was built on the site of an older school that burned down in 1953. 15 people died in that fire. Most of them were students, but one was a teacher. His name was Harold Marsh. He taught in what would have been room 251. According to the newspaper reports, he was found in his classroom after the fire was put out. The door was locked from the inside. They never figured out why he didn't try to escape. The article mentioned that before the fire, several students had complained about Mr. Marsh, said he was acting strange, talking about dark knowledge and binding the unwilling. School officials apparently thought he was having some kind of mental breakdown. They found books in his classroom after the fire. Occult books. Books about summoning and binding spirits. The books survived the fire somehow. Everything else in that room was destroyed, but the books were untouched. I don't know if any of this is connected to what I experienced. Maybe I'm just letting my imagination run wild. But I keep thinking about those scratched words on the desks. The same word over and over again. I finally found a translation. It means stay. Like I said, I've submitted my resignation. I'm not going back to that school. I don't care if they think I'm crazy. Because I have this feeling, and I know how this sounds, but I have this feeling that whatever was in room 251 isn't done with me. Sometimes late at night, I can smell that sweet, sick smell in my apartment. And sometimes I hear those slow, heavy footsteps in the hallway outside my door. They always stop right in front of my door. So far, I haven't heard a key turning in the lock. So far.